Welcome everyone to week 17 of the Everyone Hates the Commissioner podcast. We are we have some wonderful guests here. We have the two people that are in the championship game of our Dynasty League, and that is Brian. Welcome back, Brian.
Hey.
And then Dan. Hey, it was a really interesting weekend. We'll touch on that. But how are you guys doing this week, Brian?
I'm doing all right. Yeah, okay. I was just a little tired, getting back in the groove of things. Holidays officially over, trying to back to normal life.
Yeah, absolutely. Dan, how did you survive your New Year's Eve and how was the weekend and the
You know,
holidays?
it was good. I would prefer that, we had that official champion next to my name on Sleeper, but I know we'll get into that.
I think I might actually say that right now, but
It
we
it, it was a good weekend of football. The Packers won. There was a lot of really good games this weekend, so yeah, it was a good weekend.
Yes. Did you Brian, you and I were chatting before you went up to Green Bay to doing some tailgating beforehand, which sounds like a lot of fun. And went out to some bars in Oshkosh. But Dan, did you do anything for New Year's Eve?
I went out with a couple friends here. Didn't do anything too crazy. I think we were home at like 11 o'clock, so we didn't do the whole ball drop stuff. But it was a pretty relaxing, chill night. Just had a couple cocktails, shot some pool with some friends. So it was a good night.
Very nice. And Brian, I did want to ask, while you were up in Green Bay tailgating, were you at a bar or were you just at are you out at like in the parking lots and stuff, or were you
yeah, we were parked at Chuck E. Cheese, which is on whatever street that is that Cabela's is on, that same street.
okay?
Right there.
Is
So.
that Lombardi?
Yeah, I think it is. It goes Oneida than Lombardi, I believe. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Did you
But I
run
mean, you can
into
see the
any?
stadium. But.
Yep. Did you run into any Vikings fans?
Yeah, we had one guy in our group, but he was pretty humble most of the time. And then we had the occasional Viking fan. I actually helped one out. I let him borrow my lighter like 3 times so he could light his grill. So I was just showing him how good of people we actually are.
So, do you think he was humble because he was significantly outnumbered?
Maybe he was wearing a Favre jersey though, so he had that going
Okay.
for him. I don't know. Yeah.
So he couldn't be that bad.
No, he seems like a decent guy.
Well, I was telling Brian too that I went up to visit John on the New Year's Eve, and we went out to Parker John's for some barbecue, which was awesome. I'm gonna hopefully we'll have a not only are we gonna have Basil Hayden sponsored, but maybe a Parker John sponsorship after this review here. But I had the brisket Philly cheesesteak pizza. That was probably the best pizza I've ever had in my life. It was unbelievable. So I would 10 out of 10 recommend if you're ever there.
Yeah, they
So
they have one up in Needham and Asha that my mom and I always go to when I go to visit. So yeah, that place is
Yeah,
awesome.
that's one good. There's one in Oshkosh too now, actually,
Oh wow.
recently. Yeah.
there
Of
is
course, right
actually,
after I leave.
yeah, actually my mom just asked me that if there was one in she heard that too, and I didn't know that, but that's exciting.
Yeah, it's like
Um,
right on the river by campus, sort of.
oh sweet. Well, we're gonna check that out relatively soon then, I bet. But I was gonna say that we went out to the bar in right down the road from Lambeau, and there was a lot of Vikings fans there. And just as I remembered, they are not pleasant to be around on Packers weekend. So they were doing their skull chants as they were walking out of the bar on their way to the next one, and I wasn't too sad to see them go. But we made up for it the next day. That was a lot of fun watching that game. That was probably the most um, entertaining and like I guess the game that just kind of made you feel good for me, anyways, all season long. So that was fun to see. And we'll touch on that a little bit later. But well, Hey, I have to ask, you guys got any drinks tonight?
I just
Dan
got
says
straight
no.
water tonight, just straight water.
Oh,
So, yeah.
I feel like so I actually jumped on Dan and David's podcast last night for a little bit, and they were doing the same thing, but I have to keep the tradition going. We got the bottle of Basil Hayden's here, of course. Um, enjoying some of that. But what was your, I might have alluded to mine, but did you guys have a favorite meal this last week? Anything that comes to mind?
No, I had told you and Stu that I just grilled out a lot of steaks the last week or so, which is always good. Meat, potatoes.
Yep.
Had definitely just the right amount of cocktails on New Year's. I don't go out as much as I used to, and I probably cut it off at right about the right time, or else we would have had a repeat of yours, mine, and Wayne's holiday a few years ago. So
Brian?
Nice. I can't think of a particular meal, but so I hosted a few people on New Year's Eve, and I prepared some little smokies wrapped in bacon in the oven, and they were coated in this candied bacon rub that my coworker actually gave me because he smokes and makes his own candied bacon, and it's just phenomenal. You know, the brown sugar and a little bit of
Yep.
cinnamon action. It was delicious.
Nice. Sweet. Very good. Yeah, you can't ever go wrong with the old meat and potatoes meal. That's a true Wisconsinite dinner right there, isn't it, Dan?
yes, sir.
Well, I think we're gonna have to address the elephant in the room right away. But first off, before we do that, obviously, a terrible and really shocking thing to see on national television on Monday night. I think we're all wishing him, Damar Hamlin, the best, and in a speedy recovery. But with that, there was a lot of unfinished business across the world with in terms of fantasy football. I guess Dan, I'll start with you, and Brian, if you want to kind of give us your thoughts after. But kind of what do you? I guess if you have any thoughts about the whole thing on Monday night, and then kind of where it leaves us and where we're at in our league, because you guys were the bells at the ball this last weekend, and like I said, we unfortunately it's not looking like we're going to be able to get an official result. But Dan, what do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, obviously, I mean, it gives you perspective. We're all big football fans, and I know like watching Scott Van Pelt after the game talk about like everyone was excited for the game and it was, a huge matchup. Um, that's terrible. I've obviously seen some pretty bad things on the football field. I've seen people get knocked out, and not just feared for them and feeling for them, but also their families. So to see something like that on national TV in to that degree, I think the NFL handled it the way they were supposed to. There's no way you can ask those guys to go back on the field. So I think it was handled correctly. All things considered. The Bengals show why they are a top tier organization, and Zach Taylor, I know he got a lot of respect and praise for that, and with good reason. So it was cool to see the response and how it brings people together, but it gives you perspective as a fan because we forget that these people are human beings. We love to razz on Russell Wilson, and we're not huge fans of him, but at the end of the day, he's a human being. And so I think it just really kind of wakes fans up a little bit. I'm sure come playoff time, it'll be right back to rivalry talk. But yeah, I mean, it sucks that it happened in week 17 with, playoff seating on the line, and obviously for us in fantasy and all this other stuff that goes in the entertainment side of things. But yeah, I think it was handled the right way. I would love to see the game played personally because it was such a good game, but I don't know how they'll be able to get it in at this point. So, with fantasy and everything else like that, I know we all talked last night and we all talked through it like human beings and adults, and we're going to try to come to the best result possible. And I think that's what the NFL is trying to do too.
Absolutely. Brian?
Yeah, I actually didn't see it happen live. I just wasn't paying attention or whatever at the time. But I think I was texting Dan shortly before it happened, at least not long before it happened. And then, at least for the immediate time there, fantasy talk really stopped. It didn't really need to cross anyone's mind at that time. And I don't know if it's just because I have played football before. Nothing serious like that happened while I was in school playing football or anything like that. But it literally made me sick just thinking about it. And then just seeing the reactions of players, like I can't imagine. You see someone actually having their chest pounded on or whatever they're doing to bring them back to what he needed to get to. That is shockingly scary.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that Monday night game was probably the one that I was looking forward to the most this entire season. I made sure I had my everything in order before I sat down to watch that game because I wanted to watch that. That it was going to be it was a really really great matchup. There was some seeding implications, but yeah, it was. I had it on, even though I had it on. I maybe letting the dogs out, whatever I was doing. I didn't see it actually happen, but immediately after, when you see like they called it, I was watching the television. I was like, what's going on here? And then it turned into something really really serious, really really fast. So, and then pulling the ambulance out there almost immediately too, you knew it was pretty serious. So, but again, I mean, we hope the best for him and a speedy recovery. And if he's lucky enough to play football again someday, then good for him. But hopefully he just gets better and gets back on his feet to begin with. So yeah, but I guess should we talk a little fantasy? I mean, like we said, we had a little unfinished business, but and we did talk a little bit last night about kind of how to play it out. And I think if they don't play the game, we'll have to bring Aaron in and how to figure out placing, because I mean, that I love my Cincinnati Bengals. I felt like I had a pretty legit chance of pulling third place there, but I guess what do you guys what do you have, what do you kind of thoughts are you having on everything? Dan, looks like you got something to say.
Yeah, I mean, I always have something to say. The thing was like both of our matchups were so tight, right? I was telling you and Brian last night, I had the lead going into Monday night, but Brian has the Bills defense. The odds of the Bills defense hitting enough points leaned more towards me, but it was well within the realm of possibility of them
Oh
hitting
yeah.
it. You're like 45 points behind, but you had Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and their kicker, and Cincinnati was rolling early. So I think your projections I think you were projected to finish within 2 or 3 points of each other. So that's what makes it tough. Because if I was up, 35 right now, I could just say, well, give me the crown. Like there's no way the Bills defense does that. And I might be a little biased saying it's unlikely that happens, but I can't by any means say that it's not possible. All it takes is a couple sacks and maybe a pick six, and the Bills D scores enough points. Same thing with you. 50 points is a lot to come back from, but with PPR and everything, Burrow and Chase could easily hit 50. Is it likely? It's less likely, but it's pretty close to 50-50 actually when you look at the projections. So that's what makes it so tough. If you were down 80, you could say, okay, is it possible? Yeah, but I most likely concede. The same thing with Brian and I. And it's just too close to call. So that's
Yep.
what really makes it tough. So obviously I think fantasy, they're going to set new precedents now, with gambling and fantasy, and the NFL is going to set a new precedence because this is something brand new. It's like when COVID hit and they had all these bylaws and they had to set new rules and things like that. So I think you're going to see a lot of things happen. The thing, not that injury wasn't incredibly serious, obviously, but it's kind of a freak thing that it happened. So I don't think that the league has to make super crazy changes when it comes to player safety. Obviously, that's one of those things that obviously it can happen, but there's not really a way to defend against it. I don't think. So that's where it's curious to see what the league's going to do moving forward. But back to fantasy, Brian and my team, neither one of us really blew out of the water. We were well below projected. Much like yours and my matchup last week, Nick, neither one of us ever had a big lead. You never knew who was going to pop ahead. One guy did really well, and then somebody else would catch back up. I was sitting here, biting nails for 3 hours on Sunday. So it was exciting and gut wrenching at the same time. But yeah, it was a crazy weekend of football.
Mm-hmm. Brian?
Yeah, I agree with pretty much everything you said. I'm really rooting, I was really, and I will be really rooting for the Bills defense till that game happens. I drafted them for a reason because I do believe that they're one of the top tier defenses, and sometimes that matters in fantasy. Like if you need get a defense 15, 20 points, like on a random week, that could be all the difference. And then that's the exact scenario that we're playing right now. I did earlier in the week, I looked at our matchups and I looked at who we each had on our roster, and I saw that by Sunday night we should have it was pretty close to having an idea who was going to win the game, unless it came down to the Bills defense on Monday. So I even in fact drafted a player just to open up a spot on my bench, and I could have moved the Bills defense to my bench had it been that close, had I had the lead ready to go. It just went the opposite direction, and I was hoping not to have to worry like I did on Monday night. But
Yeah.
that's what it is.
Yeah, it's crazy. So do you guys, Brian, do you think that the NFL is going to try to find a way to play this game, or what do you think? What's your opinion on that?
I guess I don't know their mindset, because I would think it's from a business standpoint, it makes sense to throw a midweek game in there just to rake in their money. I don't think they should take that front right now with just how serious the situation was. Obviously, they are a business, and they would take all the extra money it would bring them throwing a midweek game in. But then just logistically, I don't know what else they would do if they're going to try to play the game. I don't know if that's the direction they want to go, though.
Yeah. Dan?
I just thought if anything, they would move it to like Tuesday or Wednesday. And then take both of their teams' matchups and maybe push them back to Monday or Tuesday. So both of those games. But once I heard that the Bills were going to be flying back home, I was like, there's no way they're going to fly them back to Cincinnati. Especially when those teams, there's a lot of logistics involved. Those teams are pretty regimented. Like every day of the week is very specific. Rogers talks about it on Pat McAfee show a lot. It's specific days are certain film days, certain practice days, certain flight days, certain off days. And then with the NFL is very aware of public perception, and they are not going to do anything to harm public perception. So at this point, unless some announcement came out that says, hey, he made a full recovery and he's been released from the hospital and he's going home, I don't see the game. I don't see the league being able to reschedule this. Again, I hope they do, but I don't see logistically how they'd be able to do it. And I also think it would be just a media firestorm that they'd have to wade through. And I don't think they're willing to do that.
So I agree with a lot of that. I hope that they play the game as well. That's an incredible matchup. There's playoff implications there. I know there's some like Stephen A had brought up playing it a week after and just giving everybody else in the playoffs an extra bye, but then that would impact the Super Bowl. And everybody already has their Super Bowl tickets bought and paid for and all their hotels and everything. So do you give up that bye, say, hey, you're telling everybody, hey, we're giving you an extra week now, but you're going to lose your 2-week break between the championship game and the Super Bowl? I don't know. I as much as I want to believe and I want them to play the game, I'm already thinking that that's not going to happen. Because that was like we talked about, that was going to be such a great game, and it looked like it was starting off to be a really, really good game there. But the Bengals marched right down the field, scored. It was 7-3, I think, when that happened. Bengals were marching down again. But regardless, yeah, it's crazy. I don't know I don't know how, like you said, logistically, I'm not sure how they can make it all work and make everything all kind of fit into the puzzle, like before the Super Bowl. So
And it's not only that game, but more so the playoff seeding. This pretty much guarantees that Kansas City is going to get the number one
yes,
seed. Obviously,
yeah,
they have to win this weekend, but that's the craziest thing is that really screwed the Bills. Um, so it's just tough. It's one of those situations where what's the right answer? There probably isn't one, right?
mhm.
There's not a good resolution, I don't think, at this point. They just have to find the best of the bad solutions.
Yep. So there was rumors of them taking winning percentage, but again, if the Chiefs win this weekend, then that would give them a better winning percentage than the Bills, being 14-3 compared to 13-3 if they both win. But yeah, it just kind of blows my mind that this whole everything, this all really panned out. So, but I guess what do you do? We'll have to wait and see.
Good news that he's the updates sound promising. So hopefully they can get something from that. And it could spark a little bit even more for the Bills. They're already very motivated this year with the way the season ended last year with that OT game against the Chiefs. And Buffalo Bills fans have been yearning for a Super Bowl for decades. So obviously you don't want to use this situation as motivation because it's certainly unneeded. But playing for their teammate like that can really give you a little extra boost. And I think a lot of people are already Buffalo Bills fans if that's not their primary team. I think this will only give the Bills Mafia more support from some other fan bases.
Yeah, and kudos to everybody around the world that has donated to Damar Hamlin's charity. When I think his goal when he made that was like to raise like $2,500, and last I heard was about 2 o'clock this afternoon, and they had raised over $6.5 million at that point. So good for everybody. I know that in our Pick'em League that some money was donated from the second and third place winnings, so that was nice. And talking about that, I'm not sure if you listened to our podcast last night, Dan, or not, but
He never posted it. I assumed he kicked me out of that group because he asked if I wanted to be on last night. I was like, "Nah, I'm good." And he never asked if I wanted to donate my winnings. He just texted me and said, "Hey, Venmo's over." So I didn't really have the option. He just sent it.
oh,
He did ask if I wanted to be on the pod last night, and I just said no. But I haven't gotten any messages in the chat group, so I'm guessing he booted me.
no, he did not. It was really funny. Dave, you know how David likes to talk some shit. He started off giving you a hard time, but then he said after we were kind of done talking about it, he said, "Dan, when you're listening, I would have done the exact same thing or whatever, even though, but you said you never had the option. So whatever it is what it is."
Yeah, he never asked. I had no idea. I had no idea. He asked, he did reach out and he just said, "Hey, how do you guys want to handle this?" And somebody's like, "Hey, we can just do results as is." And I was just joking around. I'm like, "Well, that's cool with me because I'm in first place."
Yeah.
But yeah, that was the last I heard of it until he texted me saying, "Hey, Ben, I sent your Venmo." So, yeah. And again, it's because I really don't think the game's going to be played.
Yep.
But I'll take it. That's my second dub of the year for the pick'em. So
There you go. There you go. Well, I guess let's kind of jump into a little of our I guess besides the championship game and everything is some thoughts on the league in general now that it's not officially done, but kind of. Is there any kind of Brian? Is there any? I mean, we've talked about. I think this was a really good group of guys. It's been a lot of fun. I think it's been intriguing all season. I think the group chat got a little stale there a little bit after the trade deadline because I think we weren't making trades, but overall it's been a lot of fun. So you have any kind of, and then this weekend we're gonna jump on and have our league meeting, but any thoughts on the league now that unless they play this game and find a way to make it up, this season is officially over at this point. We just, after we hammer out these details on payouts here. But any thoughts on the year, Brian?
Well, I just want to say great first year to everybody.
Yeah.
This group of 12 didn't all know each other at first. Kind of bits and pieces here and there, but now we all are in the same league, and I look forward for that for years to come. I'm sure rivalries will grow, friendships, whatever you want to call them. It's going to just be a part of the league, which is I'm looking forward to as well. That will probably liven up the group chat too, I'm sure, in the off season. We have a fairly good idea of what the results look like, at least top 4 finishers, and the one who didn't have a lineup this week in the last place finisher. So yeah, I think we'll have some stuff to talk about in the offseason at least, and things can build from there.
Yeah, absolutely. Dan?
Yeah, I think it's cool. It'll be fun to have our league meeting. I know a lot of people have brought up some really cool ideas. I like how you keep everyone involved because we all want to keep it fun and exciting. Talk about all the time. The sleeper app's a lot of fun, makes it really engaging. I just had to look up the NFL draft date. It is April 27th. So I know we will all be counting down to that because that's one of the best times of the year. I'm already going to start throwing some trade offers out there. Brian, I know I texted you a week ago saying, hey, make sure you talk to me. We might not work anything out, but so it'll be a lot of fun.
If you want to concede right now, we can make something happen. If you want to concede right now.
Can't do that. But no, I'm just really excited. It's gonna be a lot of fun. I'm already thinking about how I want to reshape my team and if I should reshape my team and what I'm looking to do in the draft. So I think it's gonna be really exciting. When you got a guy like Stu in the league, anything is possible. I could be dead last next year. The league could completely flip upside down. You never know. So off-season free agency and trades are going to be a blast. The NFL draft is going to be a blast. And I already can't wait till next season. I'm just sad that we can't redraft our entire team, just because it's not that I want a new team, but it's just so fun,
Yeah, absolutely. And by the way, after we do figure out who the champion and I know that we might have to have, and it's nobody's fault, but we may have to have a little asterisk next to this one. Again, neither of your faults, but I do have a championship trophy coming. It is a mean motherfucker. It's like 5 pounds. It's a big giant football. It's like 13 inches high. I'm so excited to get that floating around, but only to the champion. And I'm going to make this very well known next week. If you break it, you buy it because it was a pretty penny. So, but Brian, that would look really good on one of those shelves behind you at some point. Maybe not this year, but at some point you have that up there. Yep.
Don't worry. Should I ever have that trophy, there'll be weekly updates in the group chat of what the trophy's up to. So.
All right.
You bring it you go on vacation, you bring it with you. It's when people bring a cardboard cutout of a family member, you just, hey guys, we're in Disney, we're at Harry Potter.
Yeah.
Here's the trophy.
I'll buckle it into the car seat and everything like that. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. That makes me feel so much better. Well, I guess any last thoughts on fantasy? Otherwise, let's dive into our favorite segments of the year. Anything you guys got?
I'm sure we'll pop up some other stuff with fantasy. If I would have had some more time, I was going to do some fantasy awards, but I'll pull up Sleeper and we can talk about some stats. But yeah, I think after obviously talking about the sad news on Monday, I think we need a little pick me up from our favorite guy.
Yes, and we will do that. I think in the upcoming weeks here, we should definitely have with our guest. Actually, Brian, I think you were on when we did the mid-season redraft with the rookies, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes. Yeah.
So, in the next couple of weeks, we should definitely do that again, and kind of see how. I mean, I'm maybe not things wouldn't change too much, from mid-season, but you never know. So yeah, we should dive into that in the next couple of weeks. But yeah, let's see our favorite boy. And we don't have a game tomorrow night on Thursday night. but we took the earliest Saturday game for Obi's final pick. So let's see what he's got. Welcome everybody to the final week of Obi's picks. This week, we don't have a Thursday night matchup, so we are going to do the first game on Saturday, and that is going to be a divisional game between the Kansas City Chiefs and the Oakland Raiders. Oh. Obi, let's finish this season strong, pal. I know you can do it. All right, come on, buddy. Come here. Oh, you really thought about that one. He's going with the Chiefs. It's a good pick, buddy. So my mistake, before you give the paw of approval, Dan, my mistake. I called them the Oakland Raiders. That is the Las Vegas Raiders.
Same, new city, same team.
Well, he did go with the Chiefs. I do like that pick. He really looked like he thought about that one. His head is, he was right there. Oh boy, look at that. Is that an 8-game losing streak?
Oof.
Damn, dude. He was at 4 and 5.
Man, I think I was on week. When was I on? I think
you were right around the middle of the season.
So it was probably that.
I think it might have been week 9. I honestly think it was week 9, and he's been losing since. Sorry, buddy.
Well, but it's not how you start; it's how you finish.
Yeah, that's right. And Brian, if he pulls this one off, which I think he very well could, then maybe you know that every time you're on the podcast, he's gonna bring in the win. Hey, that against the spread, that it's going to be you can take that to the bank, that if he wins this one, you're going to be 2-0 on the pod for Obi's picks. Yeah. Well, what do we got? What do you guys think about that game? The first game of the week. I know we normally do, like I said, the Thursday night game, but we're gonna roll with this Chiefs and Raiders game. I think it's a noon or a 3:30 game on Saturday. You guys, I mean, I feel like this one's pretty cut and dry. But the Chiefs did struggle a little bit against Denver last week. So any thoughts on this matchup?
Yeah, the Chiefs are gonna handle it fairly easily. Although I still have a lot of love for Devontae. The team he's on is very unfortunate for his situation. They might as well just bench all their starters, or at least take their starters out. There's not really a point. Yeah, it's disappointing for them.
I did just see a headline that he wants to stay with the Raiders, but he wants to be in the loop about the next quarterback. So, which are you thinking that he's regretting that decision going out to play for the Raiders? Yeah, I'm thinking so too.
Yeah, but I also think, like, did he really expect it to be a Super Bowl team? Like, I mean, that could not have been his number one thought. I don't know.
I don't think so either. But had they hit on even half of those first and second round picks in that Mike Mayock era, you're looking at a whole different team there. Like, that could be a really, really legit team. Like, them getting all that draft capital for Khalil Mack when they sent him away. Like I said, if they hit on half those guys even, and they were still on the team, like, I feel like all the pieces would have like fell into place for them. They would have had a lot of cheap contracts. They would have had a lot of guys on rookie contracts this year, and had like some of those corners or that safety that actually the Packers picked up. Jonathan Abram had he panned out like they wanted. I mean, I really honestly or that guard Alex Leatherwood that I think they took out of Alabama, had these guys even just been serviceable instead of just getting cut after a year or a year and a half, that could be a really formidable Raiders team. But they just missed on so many drafts consecutively, and you just can't have that.
You also got to remember, though, even if you have the players, you need to have the right coaches, and they have not had the right coach in a long time.
Yeah, that's very true. Very true.
Yeah, Chiefs are going to win this week, but they have not been blowing a lot of people out. Like you said, they struggled against Denver, which they always do. And that didn't really surprise me because Denver's defense is so good. But if you look at a lot of their scores this year, they were never really in danger, but they never blew anybody out. but it's Kansas City. They're just that team that you're going to have to outscore, and who can outscore them? I think there's maybe 3 teams in the league that can keep up with them. 2 of them being the Bengals and the Bills, right? So, yeah, I think the Chiefs are going to put them away with that 1 seed. And I'm curious what you guys feel about Jarrett Stidham, because I know these quarterbacks come in, they have a big game, and then it's like, oh my God, he's the next guy, like Mike White and Cooper Rush and Brock Purdy and all these guys, but Bailey Zappi. So I'm wondering if you guys think, is Stidham the real deal? You know, McDaniels coached him in New England and specifically brought him over to the Raiders. So do you believe that was the real deal, or do you believe it's just another flash in the pan?
Brian, I'll let you lead off with this one.
Yeah, flash in the pan. I don't think he's the real deal. I mean, he's throwing to an amazing wide receiver who can make a quarterback look pretty good. So he had that going for him. I don't think he was that flashy when he was in New England, and he just happened to have a decent 3/4 of a game this past Sunday.
Yeah, but to that point, that does make you wonder, why couldn't Derek Carr do some of those things that he put up over 300 yards and 3 touchdowns, and I believe maybe 1 or 2 picks, but he put up some decent stats for coming in. And I don't even know if he's ever started an NFL game before in his career. I agree. I mean, there's a lot of guys that do that. But I actually did just bring this up last night. I do remember hearing and reading this stat that Jarrett Stidham, after he was drafted by the New England Patriots, I believe in the 4th round, and I think Auburn, I might be wrong, but I believe it was Auburn. He had the highest rating and highest completion percentage of any quarterback in the Bill Belichick era in the preseason. Yes, it's the preseason, but I thought that was pretty impressive for a lot of these guys that he had in. Brian Hoyer was always a very serviceable backup. Tom Brady obviously got playing time when he's in the preseason in the earlier parts of his career. They had a lot of quarterbacks run underneath Bill Belichick, and I thought that was a pretty interesting stat. And then to go back, hook up with your old OC, I mean, and then you have some familiarity there. That was a good fit. And I guess when they said when he had this game, I wasn't overly surprised when I saw that. So
yeah, don't forget Jimmy G and Jacoby Brissett. Yeah, they've had a lot of quarterbacks come in, and I know that they talked that Josh McDaniels' offense is pretty in depth. So I'm sure it helped that Stidham had been through the system before. So I'm sure that helps him step in as a first game to, be more comfortable with the play calls and the checks and things like that. Obviously, like Brian said, you're throwing to a now healthy Darren Waller and Devontae Adams and Renfro. Yeah, you've got some good weapons. You got a light defensive back because they have to respect Jacobs in the box. So yeah, but I just laugh. Obviously, I'm a big football card collector, and I just laugh when all these guys' prices go through the roof for 1 week, and people are spending just hundreds of dollars on these cards. And then in 2 weeks, when they're back to practice squad duty and their cards aren't worth anything, and people are upset, I'm like, Jarrett Stidham, I mean, hey, he looked good, and props to him, but I don't think so. But it makes you wonder if McDaniels is really that high on him. He could have a legitimate chance if he plays well again this week. He could have a legitimate chance to fight for that starting job, especially for a team that's going to be in rebuild mode and might not want to go spend a ton of money on a new quarterback.
Yep. And they're going to be kind of in the middle of the pack for the draft, so they're not going to be able to get one of those top tier quarterback prospects.
Right.
But well, hey, why don't we get into our locks and our upsets, and then we'll do some NFL talk, and we'll dive into the Packers.
Do you want to go through fantasy players first, or do you want to go into?
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Let's do those fantasy players. Let's do that, okay. And then this one, I will say, I only kind of, when I was looking around, I was only looking at out of the 8 teams that were actually competing for something this week. So I don't know. I didn't really look too much into the other, but I was looking more so in terms of our league on some big fantasy players. So, Brian, take us away.
Yeah, so we're doing last week's player of the week right now.
Yep.
I like to keep it with my team. I did it last time, and I'll do it again this time. And I chose Jamal Williams, former Packer, lovely guy, stud type guy. Yeah, 157 total yards and a touchdown. Very helpful for my championship team. I would also like to point out that he's my wife's favorite player in the NFL, even if he plays for the Lions. And it's her birthday tomorrow, so I'm giving her a shout out on this podcast. Happy birthday, Tiana! And here we go.
Happy birthday, Tiana.
Happy birthday.
Yeah.
Yep, good pick. Love that guy. I love his interviews. I'm not sure if you heard this last one when they were asking about Aaron Rodgers talking a little shit to the Lions, and then it just kind of turned into a Pokemon interview. No one would have ever thought of that, but that was really funny and really interesting. He seems like just a hell of a dude, just a fun guy. So yep, love that pick. And I kind of went with an obvious one here. But Mike Evans, I mean, we gotta throw him a player of the week award. It's been a long time coming. He hasn't scored a touchdown prior to this week since week 4, and him and Brady finally kind of figured it out there. And surprise, all at the right time going into the playoffs. So, good games from both these guys. Yeah, hell of a game and a hell of a three deep balls by TB12.
Yeah. I thought it was cool here. I did not adjust this, but the Jamal combo there in week 11 and 17. Yeah, I was not happy that Jamal Williams had a good game this weekend playing against Brian, but Jamal Williams is that guy that you just root for. He's just such a fun guy. Loved him on the Packers. Great teammate, even though he wasn't the featured guy. Was always the locker room guy. If you watch Hard Knocks, his teammates love him, his coaches love him. As a fan, you just love him. So I can't be totally mad at that pick. And then Mike Evans just blew up this week. So yeah, well deserved. All right, Brian, who do you have for this final week 18? I know the fantasy season is over, but fantasy stats usually lead to wins for their team. So who do you have this week in 18?
So I picked a guy who didn't play in week 17. His team has big playoff implications for their game, and he's expected to play in week 18. And I think Derrick Henry has the opportunity to run all over the Jacksonville Jaguars. He's got to get it done if they want the AFC South. And I think he's going to step up and show them that he can get it done.
Yeah, he has some crazy stats against the Jags. And you're right. They need to put all of his he's got everything on his shoulders. Because it didn't look like Joshua Dobbs was able to move the football very well last week when he was playing. But I'm going with a guy that has a completely healthy offense now, and you've gotten to take a look at what they can do now that they're all back. I believe this team was 6-6 4 weeks ago, and now they're 10-6 or something similar to that. But they are now 10-6 and into the playoffs, and they are on a roll. So I'm going to go with Justin Herbert and the Los Angeles Chargers. He's got Mike Williams and Keenan Allen both healthy. I think maybe for the first time this year or second time this last week. Tore it up. He looks like that. Like he really does. When he's got his weapons are healthy around him, he really looks like somebody that you would like have to think about building a franchise around. In the like the conversation with like a Joe Burrow and a Patrick Mahomes. I mean, they're all different players, yes, but Justin Herbert, man, he's a whole different kind of talent, and I think he's gonna ball out this week. They're gonna try to get a little better seeding, finish off at 11-6, and kind of be a force to reckon with in the playoffs here next week. So,
yeah, and he was the third quarterback drafted in our Dynasty League, and I think rightfully so. I think that's where everyone pretty much would have him at that 3 or 4 spot behind Mahomes and Josh Allen. But do you guys have any idea where he finished the fantasy season as what quarterback, what his ranking was?
I can't imagine it was that good because I think people were pretty beat up. I'd say around 15 if I had to guess.
I think he's in the top 10, probably. I don't know, 8, 9.
Right in the middle of that, right at
Oh,
12. I had to look
okay.
it up. That was kind of shocking to me because that guy is a fantasy phenom his first 2 years. Obviously, Nick, you talked about a lot of injuries, but he's got that running potential. I think they really leaned on Austin Eckler all year, to kind of help, which is probably a good thing. Take a little stress off of Herbert running and taking a pounding, which is probably a good thing for him. But yeah, that was shocking when I looked it up as QB 12. I don't think any of us expected him to finish that low.
No, nope, definitely not. Let's get into those locks and upsets. See what we think here.
Yeah, and both Nick, yourself, and the guest have been hot the past couple weeks.
Oh no! So are we still tied?
You are still tied. Both you guys went 2-0 last week. So Stu went 2-0, you went 2-0, which is good though. We like to see some winning because the Pick'em League, as we've noticed, we've all been doing a little bit better the last couple of weeks. But it was a tough season to pick games. There's a lot of wrenches thrown in the cog. So, Brian, starting with you, who do you have for an absolute lock this week?
All this works well from Herbie Bear to this. I think the Chargers can go out and win. They've been playing extremely good football, and I think they can win pretty handily going into the playoffs. They got a lot of momentum behind them.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Love that pick. And Nick, you've got Buffalo coming off obviously this week as a pretty big favorite, 7.5. You think they're going to just absolutely roll this week?
Yeah, I think they have a lot of emotion from last week. I think they're gonna. I don't see Hamlin coming back anytime soon, so I think that they're gonna want to go out and really, especially against a divisional rival in New England. I can really see them going out there and just laying the wood this weekend to Bill Belichick. Those two teams, especially since Sean McDermott and Josh Allen have come to town. Those matchups have been really, really good. But I think, like I said, with the amount of emotion that was that's been with Buffalo this week, I think that's going to really push them forward to a win this week. So
nice. Brian, who do you have for an upset? Obviously, we can all see it, but why do you have Miami this week beating a hapless New York Jets team?
Yeah, they had that half a point, and I mean, I guess this is even as it's gonna get, and I do feel like Miami is the better team, so I just think they can pull it out in the AFC showdown that they're gonna have. I mean, the Jets are surprising at all different times of the season, so there's always that chance, but I really think Miami's the better team.
Yeah, that defense is playing better. Obviously, Tua out. I didn't think Teddy was a huge drop off, but I think I was a little wrong with that. I think Tua was a bigger step up than I thought over Teddy. And then obviously when he got hurt and they had to go to their third stringer last week, that really was tough for them because that's a pretty big drop. And as we know, you can't win without a quarterback. But yeah, I think that game is as close as you can see. It's a half point. I mean, that game, I think it's going to come down to what Jets team shows up, right?
Yeah.
yeah,
And Nick, you've got a shocker here. You've got a Bears team who looked absolutely abysmal against the Lions last week. I actually thought they were going to upset the Lions last week, and they looked rough. Fields got banged up, but why do you have them picked to beat our friends to the West here?
Well, to be fair, when I sent this, this was before Justin Fields was ruled out. I just saw this while I was having dinner. I thought if Justin Fields was on the field with Minnesota shitting the bed against a couple good teams, I thought that that defense has been struggling. I thought that maybe Justin Fields would kind of run all over him, but like I said, just very, very recently, after I submitted this pick, I found out that Justin Fields wasn't going to be playing. So this one's going to come back to bite me in the ass, I think, a little bit here. And then and the guest might take one from me.
Yeah, especially with the Bears looking at that number 2 or 3 pick.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not surprising. Fields, though, after getting hurt again this last week, the Bears can't play him. They cannot risk that injury getting worse.
Yep. I agree. I 100%. I mean, if they lose, they'll have the second or third overall pick, depending on how things play out. So I don't blame them. I actually, David and I talked about this a little bit last night. If he was healthy, I'd say play him anyways, just to give him another game to develop. I mean, I know he doesn't have a lot of help. He needs a lot of offensive line help. Needs more help in the wide receiver room, but I would have said, hey, throw him out there. Let him read some defenses for a game. But wasn't able to go. So we'll have to wait until next season to see Justin Fields again.
Yeah, if he's healthy, you have to play him. And it's crazy. I had him in my DraftKings lineup. I'm still waiting to find out what happened in that. I made the final round with 24 people left, and the winner gets $10,000. And I have Justin Fields, and the guy had 100 yards in I think the first quarter.
Yes,
and then got dinged up. Rushing, got dinged up, and then didn't look to run the ball the rest of the game. So, obviously as a Packers fan, I don't want the guy to succeed, but I'm certainly not rooting for injuries. We don't do that. I think the guy's electric. I think he gets more hate than he deserves coming from Ohio State and then going to the Bears. Those are teams that are easy to hate, especially for a Wisconsin fan. But the guy, he's got some potential. So I'm with you. If he's healthy, play him, but banged up, and it looks not serious, but enough to not risk a long-term injury. But I like your guys' picks this week. You all went with teams. Obviously, your Bears pick was a little different, but the other teams are in must-win situations. That's definitely who you bet on in Week 17 and Week 18. So it'll be interesting. I think it's a really good slate of games this weekend, though.
Hell yes. Should we talk about our beloved Green Bay Packers? I think we have to.
I got the green. I got the green going tonight just for the Packers.
Yeah.
Brian, what'd you think this weekend? You said you made it back. You're tailgating in Green Bay. You made it back to watch the game on your couch. What'd you think?
I'm glad how quickly they turned it around because the Vikings put us in trouble very quickly, but the response and then pretty much just pedal to the metal from there. I loved it. It was great to see it. Just the way that our defense was playing. I was talking with a coworker today and reminiscing, looking up old stats from the 2010 season of when our defense really led us all the way to the Super Bowl. And it was just fun looking back at the games when so we played the Eagles in the first round that year, and the game ended on a Jamal Williams interception in the end zone. Defense stepped up big there. Then we go to Atlanta. Defense has multiple interceptions, one pick six by Jamal Williams again, just routed Atlanta. And then come to see the stats of the Bears games. I know we won, and I know that we handled them pretty well for the most part, but it was actually closer. I believe the score was like 21 to. Well, it was a one-score game, I believe, when it all
was it
maybe it was 21 to 10, but
or 21 to 10? Yeah, but it
was
like
that.
It was a lot closer.
It was close
than
until the BJ Raji interception had the Fat Man dance. So the defense getting you excited really brought us back to thinking like that. And there's a lot of similarities coming up with a good defense. The Packers fighting for the last seed in the playoffs and then having to play on the road all the way through. Aaron Rodgers' haircut. There's a lot of similarities happening to what we had back then.
Yeah. Hell yeah. Dan?
What did Green Bay do in the first half?
They
gave Aaron Jones the ball. And even though he didn't have a ton of huge plays, they got him involved and they ran the ball, and then they did some play action, and they made some throws, and special teams defense played up. But I think it all started from controlling the line of scrimmage by running the ball. I've been asking for it all year. Better late than never. I'm glad Jones looked healthy. Watson was out there. That was good to see him with the injury not holding back. Lazard looked fantastic. And actually one of the big guys who I was worried about, I like him less and less every week, Jair Alexander. He showed up. So, Yeah, just props to that team. I think that's the first game that we've had in a while as Packers fans where it was over quick. You know how the Packers will maybe get a little bit of the lead and then they'll squander it away and they make us nervous the whole game. That game was just over by halftime. So yeah.
I know. I was loving that. I was like, wow, as a Packers fan, I can be comfortable. But I couldn't be comfortable because of the fantasy championship all weekend. Other than that, though, I thought it would have been a pretty chill weekend of football.
Yeah, and
But
you could have used as much as I loved watching 23 shut down Jay Jettas, you could have used some more help there.
I have a lot to talk about that game. Aaron Jones not finding the end zone. Aaron Rodgers didn't need to get himself a rushing touchdown. I'm sure he could have figured out a different way to score. Yeah, and then the Jair just shutting them down. I mean,
but in all fairness,
the Vikings got the garbage touchdown too. It could have been a JJ. They didn't need to throw a garbage touchdown to a no-name guy.
Yeah, but in all fairness, Barkley didn't do anything because Daniel Jones kept the ball.
Yeah.
Chris Olave came out in the first quarter just absolutely on fire. I think he had
8 points before my team started playing.
Yeah.
Like pretty
and
much,
then
it was crazy.
They literally didn't throw him the ball the rest of the game. DK, who I actually was nervous about, I wanted to bench him, but who am I going to play? He was on Sauce Gardner Island all game, 1 catch for 3 yards. That's Sauce Gardner, by the way. He might be the best corner in the league. I actually don't think he might be. I think he is. If you have a wide receiver going against him, you can bench him. But yeah, none of our guys really blew up. Kelsey had 10. McCaffrey is who saved me. And then Amari Cooper was just, I have Chubb, and they're giving him the ball, and, they're feeding him, but he doesn't catch the ball. They're not giving him the ball on the goal line. And Amari Cooper has 3 catches for 2 touchdowns. I'm just sick to my stomach. It was like when CeeDee Lamb last week was just absolutely torching me in the afternoon. So back and forth, but yeah, none of our players outside of Cooper and CMC really did anything for us.
Yeah, I know. I was hoping Kittle was actually going to start taking some points from CMC because I when I log onto the app, I would see that San Francisco has the ball. I'm like, oh fuck, there goes like another 10 points for CMC or whatever because they'll rush for 20 yards and end up with an end zone too. I'm like, dang. But
I love the comeback that they made, how it was starting to go back and forth with the Raiders, because I was like, I know it's risky because Kittle can score too, but I'm like, I need more breathing room before Monday night. So I was hoping they were going to go to OT and maybe give me.
I was worried they would go to overtime. I'm like, oh, they go to overtime. It's the CMC show.
Yeah, another 6, 7, 15 points I'd be cool with.
But. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, well, Brian, are you enjoying that trade that you and I made a little bit more? I think George Kittle was a big addition going into the second half of the season for you. It started off slow, but he's been getting. I mean, shit. In the last half of the season, he's had to have had 5 or 6 touchdowns, if not more.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, and I think he's had two touchdown games since I acquired him. So I really am not upset with that pick. Other people in the league may be upset with that trade, but that's all right.
And I was texting Brian. We were cordially friendly texting all week. It was very friendly trash talk. I was telling him out in my DraftKings final, I had Justin Jefferson, who Brian has. I had Aaron Jones, who Brian has. I had Jahan Dotson, who Brian has. I had George Kittle, who Brian has. And I'm like, I would really love $10,000, but I would almost rather get first in the tourney. So I was like, I have to root for those players, but not as much as the players in my fantasy. And that's why I limited my fantasy leagues this year, because you guys know how it is. It's like you're rooting for one guy in one league, but against him in another, and you need him to get 20 points, but not 25 points. So I was just like, I actually wasn't that nervous that day because I'm just like, whatever happens, happens. But it ended up not really working out either way. I stunk it up in DraftKings, and then against you, obviously the result is in limbo. So, but it was fun. It was a great season.
Yeah. Well, Dan, what I know you were talking about the Packers running the football in that first half, which it did very, very well. Aaron Jones you probably have the stats up, but kind of what I gather, about what 15 to 20 carries for about $120 around there.
He actually only had 14 carries. He had 10 touches in the first half and only 5 in the second. I think obviously that was because they had such a big lead and he is still dinged up, so keep him fresh. But getting him involved early, as much as we love AJ Dillon, and AJ Dillon is a great number 2 back, he doesn't have the big play like Aaron Jones, and we need to put a little bit more fear into defenses with the big play. But AJ Dillon ended up with 12 carries. They combined 26 for $152. We'll take that. That's almost 6 yards a clip. So yeah, really good job. Rodgers spread the ball around, which we probably assumed that they were going to run the ball a lot. And then obviously with the defense playing the way they did. Aaron Jones finished with 16 touches. AJ Dillon had 12. So I feel like that was a pretty good split. Going into the playoffs, I would maybe like to see Jones maybe get 16 to 20, 18 to 20, with AJ Dillon at around 10, I think would be a good split. But I'm not gonna overreact and say we're a Super Bowl contender yet, but I will take us getting hot at the right time of the year.
Yep. Hell yeah. Well, we did what we needed to do against Kirk Cousins, and his kryptonite is that pass rush, and we were getting to him. Kudos to Goody for bringing in I can't remember his first name, but Hollins, number 47, that outside linebacker. He's made an immediate impact since we brought him in from the Rams. I believe they put him on waivers. I think it's Jamie or something. It starts with a J. But anyways, he's done a hell of a job. That whole defense seems like it's clicking right now. I still would say that's not saving Joe Barry's job if it was up to me, but they are looking significantly better. It looks like they're all on the same page. If only we had Rashawn Gary out there putting some more pressure on, then I think this defense would be top 2 or 3 in the league in terms of like right now on how they're performing. But yeah, it's fun to see. I just hope that these guys aren't getting too big of a head after this 4-game win streak or 4 or 5 game win streak that they have going on right now, and think that they can just kind of roll in casually against Detroit, because Detroit is I'm not sure if you heard that interview with MCDC. He doesn't give a shit what happens in the Seattle game. He just wants to beat the Green Bay Packers. So these guys are going to come to play, and they're going to come play tough like they always do. They always do, and we cannot take them for granted. So let's come in strong with a lot of energy like we have the last couple of weeks, and I think we'll be okay. If we come in flat, it's gonna be a close game, and then anything can happen. But
yeah, and also, yes, our defense played well, and I know Minnesota has weapons, but Kirk Cousins in the second quarter was on his 3rd center, and I think they were already missing 2 or 3 starters. And I don't care how good Justin Jefferson is in the NFL, if your quarterback can't get to a 5-step drop, you're not going to be able to complete passes. So I mean, that's not knocking Green Bay. They did their job and they shut them down, but that is not the offensive line that they're going to see in the playoffs. So if they think they're going to just run roughshod over Minnesota again that easily, they're in for a rude awakening. And Detroit's coming in pretty healthy with a very good offensive and defensive line. So they're going to have to bring their A game this week, or else, and I feel good about the game, or else Detroit will play spoiler real quick.
Oh yeah. And I could see this Rams Seahawks game, because if the Seahawks win, then it doesn't matter. The Lions are out automatically. But I could see these Los Angeles Rams kind of coming in and playing spoiler there with Seattle too. So that might give Detroit even more to play for than just beating us. So it's gonna be a lot closer of a game than I think is let on, because I know that we're hot and everything, but I'm a little nervous going into this one. I think more so than last week, which is surprising.
So curious to that point, what are you guys projecting for the week? Are you guys both feeling like Green Bay is going to win? What do you think the odds are, and what do you got for final score projections?
Well, yeah, I'm equally as nervous about it. And I know they're two different teams than they were, but if you think back to when we played them in Detroit, Rodgers had miscues that he normally doesn't have. We were a few just bad balls away from the game being more so in our favor. So I think it's very doable for us to come out and win. I would project something like maybe like a 21-10 victory, something like that. Actually, but I think we can get it done.
Well, hopefully our defense steps up. Again, I think they might score a little bit more than 10 points, but not too much. I'm thinking kind of like a 24-17 kind of score. I think it's going to be a little closer. I think it's going to be a one-score game when it's all said and done, but probably closer to a touchdown than just like a field goal. But yeah, I'm a little nervous here. They got a lot of young guys, a lot of hungry guys on their defense, and it's gonna it's gonna make it a very, very interesting Sunday night matchup for sure.
It's going to be 24-20. The Lions are going to kick a field goal to go up 4. No, that's not going to happen because the Lions would go for it. But it'll be 24-20, and Green Bay's going to march down, and they're going to have to get the touchdown to win. And Aaron Rodgers is going to hit Randall Cobb for the game winner to send us to the playoffs. Mark it down, book it, get it in with your bookies. Do not bet the house on that, but that's what's going to happen. Randall Cobb, game-winning touchdown with under a minute left.
Let's hope so. Either
I
way,
can get on board with that. Yeah.
yep. Either way,
How great would that be? I know
Yeah.
that would be terrifying that we'd have to go through the whole game behind, but I think it's going to be close. I think it's going to be a one-score game either way. I do feel good about where Green Bay is. I love where Detroit is going. I think we have more talent than they do. I think we have the better quarterback. I think we have the better defense by far. So it's going to be a fun game, though, for sure.
Yep. Looking forward to it. It did get flexed to Sunday night. I'm not sure if you guys were aware, but they are moved to Sunday night, and it might be a little bit of a tougher Monday morning than we all had thought, but still, I'm looking forward to it very, very much. Well, Brian, I know you said we couldn't. Dan's got.
Oh no, I was just going to show you. I was just gonna pop up the playoff thing. We don't have to go super in depth.
Oh no,
I'm
let's
just gonna
do
show
that.
the playoff standings and what you guys think, because I know we're looking to wrap this up. I just have the playoff standings there with projected matchups with the teams at the bottom that are still alive. So we talked about Packers. I think we're all in agreement. Green Bay. So Seattle won't matter. The other game is obviously the Jags, Tennessee. Pittsburgh, Miami can still get in. Brian, you have Miami upsetting this week. So who do you guys think is going to sneak into that 7 spot in the AFC?
Oh damn. Hey, I was just telling somebody this today at work where there was it last night? I'm not sure. I was watching this interview with this guy, and he said, God, it must be nice to be a Green Bay Packers fan and a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, because even when you think your season is gone, those two franchises always find a way to be in the mix in the end. You think your season sucks. Well, your season may suck, but they're still sneaking into the playoffs or have a chance for this to be in the playoffs. Where if you're the Houston Texans, when your season sucks, it sucks real bad. So I say don't ever count out the Pittsburgh Steelers, because that organization, they always seem, like I said, this guy that I was listening to always finds a way to be there. They made Kenny Pickett looked super, super clutch at the end of that game against the Ravens last week. If I had to bet, I mean, I think Miami is going to win, like you said earlier, Brian, but I'm not sure which order and how that's all going to play out. But I see if it works out in Pittsburgh's favor, I could see them sneaking in.
I can see that too. I guess I don't know the exact playoff picture for the AFC. I don't know who needs to do what. But I do think that Tennessee will replace Jacksonville. I think Tennessee is going to go out and will their way through Jacksonville. As good as, well, quote unquote, good that Jacksonville is playing, the AFC South isn't really much to talk about. But I think Tennessee is going to take the division when it's all said and done. And then I could see Pittsburgh, if that's how it works out. If Pittsburgh wins and they're in, or however it works, I can see them taking the 7th seed.
Yeah, it looks pretty cut and dry. New England, if they win, they're in. If New England loses, Miami wins, they're in, and Pittsburgh needs to win and have the other two teams lose. The thing is, I think New England's going to lose. They've got the Bengals. So I think New England's out. I think it's between Miami and Pittsburgh. And, we talked about it. The Miami Jets game is kind of a toss-up. And if Teddy Bridgewater isn't in, I think I'm leaning towards the Jets, because with that third-string quarterback for Miami, I don't see them doing a lot against that Jets D. And Pittsburgh, I watched the Pittsburgh game this last week. TJ Watt is back. And I still don't think Pittsburgh's offense is that great, but Najee's playing better. Pickett's playing with more confidence, and that defense is nasty. I think Pittsburgh wins this week, and I think they're actually going to sneak in with the Patriots and Dolphins losing. I'm going to take Pittsburgh in the 7th spot. And I think the Jags are going to beat Tennessee because of the quarterback position with Tennessee, not because of Derrick Henry, because we know what Derrick Henry is probably going to do. But I am also rooting for the Jags. Don't hate the Titans. Love me some Mike Vrabel. Love me some Derrick Henry, but give me those Jags. Playoffs, baby. Let's go.
That would be fun.
If the Jags lose, are they out? I don't know how that works either.
Yeah, so the winner of
each other.
The winner of that game is in, and the loser is out.
No, regardless of the rest of the wild card.
I'm pretty sure, it's regardless, because of like tiebreakers and stuff. And actually Tennessee is only 7-9, so they're for sure out. And I think the Jags don't have any head-to-head over the Patriots or Dolphins. I could be wrong, but I believe that game is winning you're in, losing you're out. And then that 7th spot is between the Pats, the Dolphins, and the Steelers. So, which is great though, because those teams are going to come to play. And that Tennessee-Jacksonville game, this is crazy saying it, but I'm actually excited to watch that game.
I agree. I mean,
could you say that 3 to 5 years ago? Can't wait to watch the Jags versus the Titans in Week 18.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's no different than when the Jets and Jaguars were playing a couple Thursday nights ago. It's just like normally I wouldn't give a shit about that one, but that was a fun game. But well, hey Brian, I know you gotta hit the hay, you gotta rest up there, pal. It's been a long weekend.
Gotta get some stuff done and get to bed early, hopefully. So
well, we are going to we'll shut this down here, and thank you both for coming on. You guys, Brian, do you have any last thoughts?
No, it's been an excellent fantasy season. I'm glad to have done this podcast twice now. I'm glad this was happening throughout the season. It really keeps the whole league involved. It really just adds to the fun that I've had throughout this league. Best league I've been in by far. I hope to continue for years to come.
Brian, it's been a blast. Thank you for being on the pod twice. No, thank you for beating me twice in the fantasy regular season. I was glad that we got to play each other again. It's sad that we don't really have a result. If it ends in us as co-champions, so be it. But it's been a blast. I do plan on beating you next year. But yeah, it's been a ton of fun.
Oh yes.
For sure.
And I have to say, and just because the fantasy season is going to be done or will be done if they in a couple weeks, if they decide to replay that game, we're going to keep talking football. We're going to keep this podcast going, especially through the playoffs. And we're going to maybe dive into some other topics after that. But this podcast is going to continue going on strong. And again, thank you both for coming on. I'm glad we got to have the championship duo on at the same time at the end of the year. I'm excited for the future of the podcast, the future of the Dynasty League. Like you said, I like you, Dan, like you said about before about the draft. That's my favorite night of the year by far is the NFL draft. And that's going to send a lot of things into motion because we can sit there and read all we want about college prospects going to be going into the NFL next year, but we can't really put the full value or find their full value, assume their full value until we know which team that they're actually going to be on in their situation that they're in. So looking forward to that, looking forward to some really some fantastic conversation, football draft, redraft, like scenarios, all that fun stuff. Again, thank you guys. It's been a really, really fun season. Dan has one more thing to share.
One more thing. If you want to make your closing statements, and then I'm just going to play a little sound snippet to end this clip.
All right. Well, I think I've said everything I need to say. Again, thank you guys for coming on. It's been a lot of fun as always. Brian, good seeing you again. And we shall we'll get to I'm really looking forward to this Sunday night meeting, getting everybody together, as long as it is a civil and conversation and productive. Good luck with that, right? 12 people all at the same time on a Zoom call, but we're gonna make it happen. All right, Dan, take us away. I can't hear it.
No, no sound. He's jamming now.
That's all I got.
Well, we didn't hear anything, but we really
You
enjoyed
couldn't hear it?
No,
Oh,
we saw you
man.
going though. Yeah.
We just really enjoyed your dance moves.
I was playing the Go Pack Go chant.
Oh yes,
I
go Pack
didn't
go.
think the speakers would work, but I'll embed that next time so we can play that.
Yes, go Pack go, and it'll be a fun playoffs. And again, thank you guys, and we shall talk soon.
Yep. All right.
Later.
Go Packers.